Hello, welcome to episode 13 of Mission Hill. I Married a Gay Man from Outer Space. I'm Josh Weinstein, one of the creators.
Bill Oakley, the other creator.
And I'm Nick Jameson, and I play a bunch of voices. Who do I play? I play Gus, Ron, Mr. French, and Stogie, and sundry others that come and go.
I'm Lauren McMullen, supervising director.
So this is the episode, the big Gus and Wally episode, and we're fortunate to have the voice of Gus here with us to tell us all about it.
Hello, how you doing?
As we said, I think in another commentary, Gus was the character of Gus, or at least the design of him, was inspired by Lawrence Tierney, for which we have a lot of fondness, I guess, based on his appearance. The design, I guess, although it sort of looks like Ed Asner with his head shaved, it also looks a lot like Lawrence Tierney. And the voice, we wanted basically a Lawrence Tierney kind of voice. And Nick, the master of voices, can do so many different voices. But tell us about the voice of Gus.
Well, when I went in, I think, who was it? I can't remember who I read for first, but she said it was Tanis said you were looking for Lawrence Tierney, and I had no clue what Lawrence Tierney sounded like, so I just did what the picture looked like. And then I think I met you guys, and I was apologizing for not knowing what Lawrence Tierney, and you were like, well, we like what you did, so forget about Lawrence Tierney. So,
but it's amazingly similar.
Is it really? Oh, okay.
We, to this day, imitate Gus and Wally constantly because it's such a good dynamic. When you're arguing, two guys are arguing, it's a funny dynamic.
They're so different. I mean, the voice timbres are so different, and the personalities.
So this episode was written by Dan McGrath, who couldn't be here today, but is an incredibly talented writer. And I think he really poured his heart and soul into this episode because it is about a subject which I know he's very interested in, is, you know, art films and classic films and so forth. And you'll see a lot of them just on the walls here, like Follow That Trolley, I believe, with Buster Wallace.
You'll notice the logo. We couldn't use actual footage from or drawings of Midnight Cowboy, so all I could have was a hand holding a cigarette. Because we couldn't use
and the Clockwork Orange, obviously, there's another phony poster.
These days, mercy how times do change. You see,
there were actually some actual film parodies, like Fellini movies and things that got cut from the final version, but you'll see some of them later.
You'll see They Sleep by Night was another one, and then there was something with Japanese writing and a giant wasp attacking people. But this episode, actually, the original draft was probably almost 60 pages, and a final script needs to be about 42. So there was lots of stuff cut out after the table reading. There was a much longer, more complicated ending, which I'll tell you about when we get there.
I thought, Michael Crichton is a genius. Did you know he wrote Twister?
I used to love the legal machinations you guys had to go through to get stuff cleared. One time you were submitting a bunch of phrases to get cleared, and you put in Bill Gates, Microsoft, McDonald's, or Coca-Cola laundrette or something like that.
Oh, that's right.
And they came back, no, can't clear.
Not acceptable.
Not acceptable.
Bill Gates, if he had any major corporation, you can't have these.
But bugles.
Bugles, we got bugles, and whatever company it is that makes
They
bugles.
sent us bugles.
I think it was
Do you
General
remember?
Mills, yes.
They sent us a bunch.
They also, this episode, I think the general story, which basically, again, was made up by Dan McGrath on whole cloth, I think is inspired by Cinema Paradiso. That's the movie that where the boy learns the love of great art films or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also the story of the love between Gus and Wally, and it's really sweet.
Go figure.
Right, just the Kevin part.
I can't believe you've been Gus and Wally's neighbors all this time.
And of course, the great Plan 9 from outer space.
I know they wake up at 8 o'clock every morning. Wally brews coffee while Gus reads the funnies to him.
Isn't it sweet? And then they shower together and sing college fight songs.
Then they either argue or have...
He does look a lot like Tor Johnson.
He does, yeah.
So that's obviously anybody who's
love
familiar.
this sequence.
Oh, I love those silhouettes. Yeah, that is so cool.
Now, what movie
film
is this from?
That's
It's a
from
Bergman film.
yeah.
Seventh Seal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We had to watch a lot of movies that we hadn't seen before, and I remember the person who
that's
laid
Dan
out
McGrath's
this
voice.
scene, Dave Filoni, fell in love with this, and he's like, Smiles of a Summer Night is really a great movie.
And that was the voice of Dan McGrath.
Yes, doing the lawyer Eggerman.
Avocate Eggerman.
This is a Preston Sturges movie, obviously. I mean, there's so many parodies here that I don't think people got. Quite honestly, the people watching the WB or whoever was watching this didn't understand what we were talking about. And frankly, it was a little bit above my head as well.
But I can assure
But
you
no one
that
could admit.
100% of the people who are listening to this DVD know every one of those movies.
Yep.
Yep.
That's 2001, by the way.
Black thing
So in case you didn't know, that was supposed to be 2001 they were watching.
What's going on?
And 2001 really would irritate George and Toby to a huge degree because it pretends to be a sci-fi film, but it's not.
I'm somebody who never got 2001. It
Yeah.
never meant a thing to me. Sorry, Stanley.
It's sort of like this show that has things that are so subtle that
Yeah.
you can maybe appreciate them if you watch it a bunch of times.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
What's coming this month? John Cassavetes, some Tarkovsky, the man from Pluto.
Now, what were the other movies that we cut out of here? There were at least 5 parodies of old movies.
There was definitely a Fellini movie that
Yes.
featured a
Hundreds
bunch of
weird
dwarves
characters,
and,
yes.
and prostitutes, like
Yes.
beautiful Italian prostitutes. And
Right. Anyway, at a certain point, we determined that we... as much
Nobody
as-
really wants to see a Cassavetes parody on an animated show.
I would have loved it.
I know. Well, this show was not really meant for your average. So a credit to all of you who bought this DVD and are listening to this commentary. You're much smarter than the average TV viewer.
That is me. That's from when I was in this picture once that Wally made.
I love that little hat.
he always wore hats that were
Yeah.
way too small
His
for him.
head was very well designed for small hats.
He had a special little cap for outdoors, I think, that was...
Wally said it fell off the side of a boat and got eaten by a shark.
But Gus,
And I love the way his mouth at rest has got that certain, horizontal teardrop shape to it.
Movie. Ain't that great?
Why, yes, Gus, that's wonderful. Ow.
Also, just so you know how long our scripts always were, this actually had a subplot for one draft. I don't think we even gave it to you, Lauren, because it was so insanely long. There was a much longer there was a subplot about Jim and Andy. In fact, I'll tell you the whole story of the subplot.
it
was
the
about
SUV
yes, it
one?
was the SUV
I
one.
remember thinking, no.
It was
shit.
basically, this was again in the dying days of Generation X, as we were talking about. There was a lot of revolt against SUVs. Now I guess we've all given up on that. But Jim and Andy were angered by the number of SUVs clogging the streets near the ad agency and so forth. And finally, they ended up going out to the country and they either bought or rented a combine and drove it down the street like it was an SUV. And it took up so much space, and they were pretending to be like yuppies with the newest, biggest SUV. And then all the yuppies started to want combines at the end. It was so complicated. And anyway, clearly there was no room for it.
Yeah, I remember that, and I missed that. It was wonderful.
Kevin, there's only one guy in town who can help you with this. Brace yourself. I'm taking you to see the Beardo. You guys want to come?
Now let's hear about Weirdo
Oh, I
Beardo.
love Weirdo
Oh,
Beardo.
Weirdo Beardo. Yeah. He is based on a character I knew, and he is a character. And he's still with us, so I want to be careful not to be sued because he is a lawyer. He had the most amazing way of talking.
He sort of talked like, you know what? Forget it. You people are quite insane.
And he would call you up on the phone and just start talking without saying, you'd pick up the phone.
You know what? I said $200,000. Boom, boom, boom. Hello.
And when Weirdo comes in here, he says, "Oh, please." That's like he would start every question, every conversation with something like that.
A lot of what makes Beardo was an effort to keep him away from the comic book guy on The Simpsons, who also runs a store and is very rude. So we made sure that he was nothing like that and made him an older guy with a beard and who couldn't
And a
walk
scamp.
and the voice. And
Right,
a
right.
scamp.
I always thought he chose not to walk.
He chose not to walk. That's correct.
Oh, really? I love these subtext things you have in here that nobody will ever know, but like make the character what they are.
There's tons of background stuff in this store as well, like the Asian biker fetish and the
U.S. Adam Mortar.
yes, and there's tons of also movies. I remember I have a large collection of like weird cult movies, and we wrote McGrath and I wrote several movies, the titles and the directors and the producers and all that stuff that appeared only briefly in the background.
Come on, hurry up. I don't want to miss a second of Wally's big premiere.
Oh, boy.
Everybody's all dressed up here. You'll notice that I think Jim has a hat when he goes out when he's dressed up. Andy only wears a scarf. They really dressed up. They know how to do it right, Carlos and Natalie. There's Jim's hat.
Found him.
And Posey's wearing her shawl. Right? That's everyone that dressed up. Andy only wears
Yes.
a scarf when he goes out. That's how he dresses up, because you can't recognize him without a striped shirt.
From winter to summer.
All right. Now, so for those of you who don't know, this is based on Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Pluto, lonely Pluto, land of ice, a snowy world beyond the stars.
This is one of my favorite voices. I love this character.
But what if this frozen world...
The why, there's just something about it. And besides, I get to say nuclear for the first time in this show, long before George W. Bush ever even dreamed about being president.
That was supposed to be a scoop of ice cream, by the way.
Yeah. It looks like I always assumed it was a scoop of ice cream.
So now, look at these guys. Obviously, yeah, I think in the script it said like there's a gay man and a hobo who have been brought in to play these roles.
And it's also clearly filmed in a parking lot.
Yeah. Look, there's a hat. There's a big cardboard hat.
That goes.
And that doesn't match. You'll see.
Right.
One nice thing about doing the animation side of things is there's a lot of errors that sort of creep in, like mistakes in the storyboard with screen direction or scenes coming back from Korea. Yeah. So basically, at every stage along the way, in order to make it look appropriately bad, we would leave some of the mistakes that everybody just seemed to make. And there's a point where you can see Korea, when they shoot things, sometimes they make mistakes and they just backwind the film and burn in a thing that says, cut out these 2 frames. And it was really nice and 50s looking. It was like they'd been using it since like 1955 or something. And so there's a point where you can actually see it.
Blowing up Pluto, a planet that never hurt nobody.
Well, I sure hope no one...
And that guy's wearing a milkman's outfit with brushes attached. That's the thing. In this, a lot of this stuff, I think it's hard to see, but in the script, it was very careful. That woman is obviously not supposed to be in the movie. There's my voice. And see, this is stock footage. Like, it's a lot of this.
It's actually based on some real stock footage.
Yeah, intercutting stock footage with.
Space. And this here planet is Pluto.
Do you think that's where the man from Pluto is from?
One of my favorite lines.
And now I have no choice but to kill him. Him who never meant us guys.
I love the way they all talk like Gus. Every character.
Also, their map of outer space apparently was before they knew what Neptune and Pluto were, because there's question marks on it. So I guess their map from outer space is like from like 1730 or something.
So they know about Pluto, but the map doesn't.
Cut out. Yeah, this is so well done, and it's so, I guess it's not the kind of thing, again, that appealed to the people watching WB on the Friday night, but we were long canceled by the time this episode was completed.
Yeah, and I actually never saw it until you lent me a tape the other night.
And of course, as you probably know, most of you did not see the show when it originally aired on the WB network, but has now been airing pretty much continuously on Adult Swim and also on TBS, where I think it's a much more good fit.
Definitely.
You just didn't get it, did you? Did you ever wonder why I didn't want to talk about the movie? No, you had to humiliate me in front of a crowd. Come on, guys.
Tom Kenny is great at getting mad in thin little voices.
Yeah.
The first time I did a session with him was at Nickelodeon for a show called Chicken Little, I think it was. And he played this nebbishy character, and someone comes in and puts a glass down on the coffee table, and he yells, "Use a coaster!" And every time I would see him, I'd like yell at him, "Use a coaster!" He's got a little bit of Wally in him, hiding way
Well, I've also
down
heard
deep.
Wally's voice. Wally's voice seems to be SpongeBob's father. If you ever see SpongeBob's father, and we also watched the Jimmy Briskin episode where you'll see that Jimmy Briskin and SpongeBob are awfully similar.
Jimmy Briskin, no, he was great.
That's not true. He's a big boy. He'll get over it.
There's regrettable little Posey in some of these episodes. Posey had a bigger episode in episode 7 with the massage parlor thing, but she doesn't have quite as much to do in these episodes, which is unfortunate because she's very funny.
Yeah, it was such a unique character, Posey, that voice she came up with, and it just synced so well with the way you guys wrote it.
Yeah, it's apparently she said that her Vicky had been to the dentist that day and like her tongue was a little numb when she came in, and that's how she got that voice.
Jim, please, where did you put my fish?
Stop calling me Jim. Can't you see I'm an angry spaceman?
Oh. Hi. We were,
Now, in Plan 9, did they say nuclear there, or in Plan 9?
I don't remember. I don't know that I've ever been able to sit through Plan 9 all the way through. It's much better in small doses.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Well, I think it is kind of interesting that nuclear is part of the contemporary vocabulary.
Well, part of what I find interesting about this is that obviously Wally is a much, much smarter person than Gus.
Yeah.
And Wally was, as we later learned, was a fairly director on his way to the top until he fell in love with Gus and basically sacrificed everything for it. Gus was obviously just a teamster hauling these boxes, and Gus obviously doesn't really understand things like irony, and he doesn't understand that movie is bad. He didn't know the movie. He believed Wally when Wally said it got eaten by a shark, and it just elaborates their characters to a degree that I really like.
That's one of the things I love about this script is that you get to see the bad movie. And then you get to see how it got that way.
Right, it wasn't meant to be bad.
And it's a trade-off that Wally picked, which is really sweet.
And it was my dream project, an allegory.
Now, I remember how hard you worked on this. Paul Newman-ish person, I mean.
Me?
Yes, you. Right there.
That is one crappy Paul Newman. If that's what I was going for.
Oh, I guess at the time you had all these tapes of Paul Newman.
Did I?
Yes, you're watching.
You're making that up.
The Hustler. I'm not. I remember it.
Really? Oh, gosh. I feel terrible that I didn't get closer to Paul Newman. I don't remember working on it.
As for legal reasons, that's not Paul Newman. It's Paul Newman-ish character. But
Where do you want me with this?
Oh, where wouldn't I want you with that?
I really specialize in bad impressions, because if you do bad impressions, you can come up with really interesting characters. If you do a good impression, you're just doing an impression.
As handsome as Charlton Hestopoulos, granted, but to me, he was more glorious than all the Paul McNewmans of the world.
I love this movie.
Yeah, this is funny.
Everything would have been
now.
fine.
I maybe a lot of people probably don't realize this, but it was gays were very closeted in 50s Hollywood, and a lot of people. Ed Wood, I guess, was not gay.
Visitor from space will be played by the star of tomorrow.
But they were very closeted, so this
it's a forbidden love.
Right.
Yeah, the love that dare not speak its name.
And it was something that someone would have to sacrifice their career for to a degree, like Wally did. And it also shows, as Lauren said, this movie wasn't meant to be bad. It ended up falling apart purely because of his commitment to Gus.
Yeah.
I greet you from the Galactic Federation.
Walter, I admire your picture, I do. But really, I simply can't tolerate bad acting.
Now, there's Tom doing quite a good Charlton Heston.
I like the sound of that.
Paul McNewman. It was Paul McNewman, by the way. Metro Value Studios. That's where I think we've done some of our posts over there.
Oh, wow.
Well, we'll make this work somehow. Action!
Look at those guys. Those are the guys he hired, and they're much like the guys, his band of actors. There's a drunk guy and the other weird guy with the eyelashes.
Just have to change the story and rewrite the script.
I will blast you with this here ray.
That's Wally Langham and one of his.
And that's is that Dave Filoni?
It is.
Drawing?
It was my assistant director at the time.
We'll know he's mad.
Gus is such a bad actor, he can't convincingly be mad because he always sounds mad. So you have to have a light.
That's true. And anytime his expression changes, it sort of snaps back like a rubber band to his habitual look. I love that about him.
Kid, I'll give it to you straight. You're through.
Taking the midnight train to Mission Hill.
Again, some terrific music by Eric Spire in this episode.
And we left town that same night. We used the money to buy guns.
There's the Cosmopolis Tower, by the way. You don't get to see too much.
But you know, I'm not sorry about a thing. I love
Poor
Gus.
Kevin.
He loves me, and I would do it all again in a heartbeat. Well, I better get to work. After all, laughable, pathetic movies don't just project themselves.
You know, Scott Menville was so interesting to watch as Kevin that for a long time I couldn't almost relate to the real Kevin as Kevin. And now that I've seen these shows years later, I saw it, ran into Scott the other day, and I said, Scott, I can't picture you anymore. Do Kevin for me.
I know, it's very weird.
This guy's now, it's like Kevin is Kevin. And he's so Kevin. Then when you see Scott, it's like, Scott, God, I used to take such pleasure in your Kevin. Do it for me.
A very good friend of yours is being mocked right now. So you can sit here moping, or you can go help him out.
Some of the things that were cut out of this episode, in addition to the enormous subplot about the Combine, were what happened was that Wally had a boss at this theater who was kind of a mean guy. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
Who was kind of a mean guy who forced him to keep showing this movie even though he didn't want to. Then also at the very end, what happened was it wasn't like this. There was a panel. Basically, the owner of the theater had decided to convene a panel to discuss how lousy this movie was and like of comedians to make fun of it and so forth. And basically, Wally was sort of held up to ridicule, but then with his newfound confidence and so forth that it wasn't a secret anymore, he basically flattened all of his critics and everybody loved him. And of course that was way too long, so we have a much shorter ending now.
How many of yous must get blasted before yous will learn?
That guy's drunk too.
That's my favorite line. Nuclear weapons is wrong-hearted.
That's the gym-like guy. You might remember that guy as the guy who did get into the hip club when they started the hip club because he looked like Jim.
Oh, right.
They didn't let Jim in because they said they already had one of those.
Oh, brother. That was quite the surprise.
There's that Japanese movie with the wasp or whatever on
I owe you one.
So, you're not mad at me anymore? Are we still friends?
Sure. We're as close as an elderly gay man and a straight teenage boy can be.
That's a classic line, and
Yes, it
I'm
is.
sure that'll probably be on the poster for this DVD when they sell it at Walmart.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Yeah, so elderly gay man and a straight teenage boy can be a heck of a lot less closer nowadays than they could back then.
Back in 1999.
Yeah.
I found Love Gus. What the... Will you look at that? Oh, Gus.
It's nice that Gus was trying to do something sweet, although I'm not quite
It
sure
is.
what it was.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and when he signs the note, "Love Gus," I think that's the only time we've ever heard him mention that he actually does love Wally. Keeps it all inside. The
Well,
big lug.
he's not a very emotional guy.
He thinks he's the only one who thinks Wally looks like David Niven.
Yeah.
I think, right? Wasn't that?
That's right. A very important thing about that is Wally obviously likes Broderick Crawford, and that's why he loves Gus, because it's Broderick Crawford, and Gus loves David Niven. So it's like they're both. Now I know that nobody knows who those guys are, but look on the internet and you'll see pictures of them: David Niven and Broderick Crawford.
Oh, everybody knows that. Gosh, classics.
All right, thank you very much, and be sure to look at all the extra materials on this DVD and check out more Mission Hill stuff on the internet.
Remember, nuclear weapons is wrong-hearted more than ever.